to your Geoscope. So this is going to be your reading for the solar eclipse in Cancer, which happens just after the solstice on the 20th of June, I think, this year. And then the eclipse will follow on the 21st. Of course, it depends on where you are in the world and what time zone that you are in. But I'm talking about UK time, which is kind of like at the middle of the, zero, sort of 100 hours GMT. So let's get into your reading. I have had a quartz sitting clearing the cards, and let's see what comes through for you. So just to say that if you are not that familiar with geomancy, you may want to visit my website. There is a link in the description box below. I have got a free conversion sheet on there if you want to try geomancy yourself. You don't really need anything except for, you can use dice, or you can use a sort of piece of paper, or you can use cards like I have. This is my own system that I've developed. Just to sort of add that element of chance. Or you could also use coins in the same way as the I Ching, and use one side for kind of odd and the other for even, because essentially you are constructing quadrograms rather than hexagrams, because the whole system is based around the 4 elements. So it's kind of fourfold, 4 lines of 4 lines each. But anyway, I just find it useful in that it allows us to kind of drill down into more details about how these energies, the cosmic energies of the eclipse and other astrological transits tend to play out in the 3D world. So how they manifest, because that, there's a lot of potentials that one gets with astrology, but you never know quite how they're going to play out. So this just gives us that this sort of complement, the below to astrology's above. Anyway, let's see what wants to come through for you for Capricorn for the solar eclipse in Cancer, which of course starts a new 6-month cycle for everybody. Right, so first up we've got Fortuna Major. So Capricorn, you are very focused on success, on abundance, and on kind of world domination, basically, which doesn't surprise me given that Jupiter is still transiting through your sign. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of, success, largesse, all those good things. So yes, at this particular solstice and solar eclipse, you're very focused on, achieving in the kind of physical and mundane sense. This is the sun in Leo, so it's a kind of solar influence rather than a lunar one, which is interesting. I mean, at a solar eclipse, we've got the sun and the moon in the same degree of the zodiac on the same side of the earth, so the sun and the moon are essentially working together. But the fact that you've got the sun in Leo here points potentially to Leo season, so that may be significant for you. Okay, next up we've got Cauda Draconis. So this is the south node of the moon. This is where things get released. So the way that I think about it is that it's kind of, it matches quite well with full moons or lunar eclipses. When we're releasing karmic cycles, we're ending things. So it's interesting that you've got it in the section of your chart that's about roots, so it is almost at the bottom of your chart and a good place to sort of release things, into the ground. So that may be significant. The 4th house is about belonging. It's about home, who we share our domestic space with. It can be about family ties, as well as those things that we inherit from either our bloodlines, our family, or through wills, that kind of thing. So it can be genetic sort of diseases or advantages that we're sort of inheriting. It could be gifts or talents. It could be some form of disability or depression. It really varies quite a lot, but on some level you seem to be letting something go. So it's possible that you are relocating or thinking about relocating. You may be thinking about selling your current property or moving out and moving somewhere else. But there is a sort of sense of release here, and given the connection to the south node and to full moons, this could come into play at the next full moon, which is a lunar eclipse in your sign in Capricorn. Right, so in the position of others, so this is self and others, this is your horizon line, we've got Puer, which is the boy, and this is Mars in the sign of Aries. So this is very focused, dominant, kind of masculine energy, where it's very go-getting. Actually, you kind of know what you want. It can be about pursuit, it can be about romantic pursuit in particular, because this is the 7th house of committed partnerships and of significant relationships. So maybe you've got your eye on somebody and you're keen to kind of seal the deal, as it were. Maybe you're keen to propose, or just it could be a business partnership too. You could be keen to sort of close a deal, because this can be about contracts, but on some level you're feeling very motivated, focused, confident, and keen to get going. Basically, you want to take action when it comes to the 7th house. So in the 10th house, we've got your planet, Saturn, but in the sign of Aquarius. So this is Tristia. Now, Saturn is currently in Aquarius. It has been there since, I think, about March, around about the equinox. It ingressed into Aquarius. However, Saturn is currently retrograde and will return to Capricorn briefly, I think from about July until December, before it finally returns to Aquarius, and then continues to move through the sign for the next 2 years or so. So this may be significant for your career, because the 10th house is your career. It's also your reputation in the public sphere. It can be public office, so it could be a sort of a governorship, political appointment of some kind. It could be being appointed to the board of directors of some corporation, but on some level Tristia is about loss. So it could be at this stage that you lose a position, that you're demoted, that you resign from a particular office, or kind of scale back your responsibilities. So I'm just going to read you the keywords for Tristia, because it can be a bit broader than that. So Tristia is about sorrow, grief, suffering, tears, pain and illness, depletion, diminishing, remorse, head down or fallen. So this has to do with endings and exits, and the image is of a stake driven downward, or a fallen tower, or a cross of suffering. So in this sense, it's probably similar. It has similar kinds of, or kind of overlaps with the fallen tower in the tarot, but it's not as shocking. Even though we are talking about Aquarian energy here, it is Saturn in Aquarius. It's not Uranus. Uranus is normally sort of that bolt of lightning. So I don't think it'll be anything that will surprise you particularly, and it could be what you need to release, because this is the MC-IC axis, and generally they're considered to be joined in the same way that the ascendant descendant is joined. So this is essentially the cross of matter, which of course tallies with the idea of the 4 elements, and being in the fourfold 3D sort of sphere. This is really what is materiality is all about, is what characterizes the 3D. So I kind of feel as though you may be walking away from something, but you know what it is, and it could be that what you're walking away from allows you to make some space in your personal life in order for new things to kind of come in. So you're sort of releasing energy along this axis, and with the view to kind of restarting in due course. But anyway, I'm just going to pause the video for a sec while I do the conversions, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Hi Capricorn, welcome back. As you can see, I've done all the conversions and I have popped all the geomantic figures into the correct houses. So let's dive into reading. So the first place we need to look at is the 7th house, because this is where you are going to have your eclipse. This is Cancer for you in terms of your astrological chart, and I'm reading it as if you have Capricorn rising. So this is your kind of opposite end of your ascendant. This is your descendant, and as I said, we've got Puer here, so we've got Mars in Aries, which is interesting because at the moment Mars is actually in the sign of Pisces, so it's kind of almost in its 12th house position. It will only get into Aries a little bit later on, I think in July or August. So at the moment it's kind of undergoing what I would call, I don't know, I don't want to say a dark night of the soul, but certainly there's a lot of soul searching going on for the masculine kind of aspect of things. And it's interesting that we've got the same geomantic figure repeated in your third house. So it does seem as if where you are needing to be assertive is in terms of communication, because the third house is self-expression, it is communication, it's the media, it's your ideas, it's basically your throat chakra. So it does seem as though you need to be quite straight about something. Perhaps it has to do with asserting your needs within a relationship. It could also be about defending your corner when it comes to negotiating a contract, for example. But there is definitely a need for you to be perhaps a bit more assertive than you might usually be, and just to sort of not take any nonsense from anyone. Just stand your ground when it comes to what's fair and what you think you deserve. And then sort of over and above that, we've got, as I said, we've got Cloud of Draconis here. So this is the tail of the dragon, but you do have the head of the dragon twice. So there's usually a connection between the two things. So we've got the head of the dragon as one of your outcome cards, and we've also got it in your 12th house. So if we pair it with the 4th house, it could be something to do with your private life. So something going on below the surface with you, when it comes to a kind of a fresh start. So this could be, sometimes it is kind of mourning, it can be going on retreat, for example. So maybe you've pulled away from a family member, or you've gone, you've actually left the home, or you feel that you need to leave home, and perhaps kind of get your head right. So this can be, going into some form of institution or kind of a monastery where you cut yourself off from the world, basically, in order to regroup, or to think, or not to be distracted. So it could be that you need some time away. Maybe you need to sort of recharge your batteries after a stressful few months, in order to be ready to sort of charge ahead. That there is this need for a bit of downtime. But and as I say, the North Node is usually associated with the start of a new karmic cycle. So if we read it in tandem with the solar eclipse, which starts a new cycle and is kind of symbolically synonymous with the North Node, then it's possible that the cycle we're talking about here is more psychological than anything else, that there's a sort of a reshaping of your inner world, your inner landscape, perhaps in order to bring things into alignment, to sort of get clear about where you want to be headed and what you don't want. Because it's interesting that we've got the two cards on your MC-IC axis are repeated in your outcome. So it does seem as though this is a particularly important axis for you, when it comes to karmic cycles and soul lessons, basically. So then the other thing to say is that we've got as your outcome conjunctio, which is normally a marriage or a coming together of opposites. So this is quite a good symbol, actually, a representative of the new moon. So it's the sun and the moon kind of coming together, which is when we have solar eclipses. So we could also say that this is the crossing of the solar and lunar paths. And so bringing things together kind of talks about collaboration. It talks about not cutting something off, completely, but perhaps discussing things so that you can arrive at a compromise, rather than, just simply cutting things off, or, cutting people off. I'm just going to read you some of the key words here so that they can jog your memory. So it's about the union of opposites, such as the sun and the moon, or the unconscious and the conscious mind. And it's interesting that we've got this you know, in your relationship area, we've got, this is the conscious mind, this is the unconscious mind. So balance, conjunction, a literal conjunction as in at new moon, alliance, collaboration, combined efforts, interaction, marriages, and recovery of things lost. So one of the images for it is a crossroad. So that's what I feel. I feel like you're kind of coming to a choice point, Capricorn, where you're kind of leaving one direction behind, this old path which you may have outgrown or no longer is in alignment with your soul purpose, and you're moving into a different direction. And it could be that you're only able to sort of move forward with this once Saturn returns to Aquarius in December. So it may be that this 6-month cycle is actually about release. It's almost kind of allowing what needs to fall away, so that you're ready, you're sort of primed to then move forward in December, when Saturn comes together with Jupiter, in fact. So there's sort of an overlap a little bit with this idea of expansion going on in December. So that's something to bear in mind. It may be that you know, even though you are focused on achievement and success, and you know, with expansion and gain and being out in the world, you know, succeeding and all that kind of stuff, that there may be a process that has to happen first. You may need to go through a kind of an alchemical nigredo first, you know, before you kind of get to the final part of the process, when, you know, you kind of birth this new sort of identity, or the new you, basically. It may also be that you'll get clearer about what needs to be released when we get to the full moon in Capricorn, which will happen in July, sort of early July. That's the follow-up to this solar eclipse. It's the corresponding lunar eclipse that happens. So these are kind of twinned events, and need to be seen as such. So it's interesting that we've got conjuncture repeated in your 5th house and your 2nd house. So the 5th house is the house of children, it's the house of creativity, joy, passion. So it can be new love relationships. So it's possible that, as I say, you've got your eye on someone and you're keen to kind of get together with them. That's one interpretation. Another may be that you are keen to collaborate with somebody on a sort of creative level, and so you want to sort of develop a business partnership. That's another way this can work. It can also be sort of taking risks or new ventures in the area of the arts or of leisure. So this could be in the tourism industry, for example. So there may be something there about kind of joining opposites, or collaborating with other people. And then the 2nd house is about earned income, money, assets, as well as your skills, talents, and abilities. So it's possible that you're kind of heading in a new direction career-wise, and that's why you're sort of wanting to cut something out. Maybe you're kind of moving from a traditional type of career path into something that's a little bit more creative, or is in line with your hobbies, your what brings you passion and joy, that you always consider to be a sideline, but instead of being at the side hustle, maybe you're kind of ready to make it your full-time job. And so you're thinking about how to make it pay, because this is what the 2nd house is about. So you're bringing together, literally, perhaps your passion with what you do for a living, your job, and that may be, you know, what this conjoining is all about. That's certainly something to consider. And, you know, perhaps here you're having to be quite assertive with other people, because you're having to defend your decision. You know, perhaps other people think that you should follow a more conventional career path, and of course Capricorn is normally quite conventional, so this might be a bit of a departure even for you. So you're having to be, but you're still having to be quite firm and sort of stick to your guns, so that the naysayers and the doubters don't kind of put you off track. Trying to think of what else there is going on here. I mean, it does look as though you've got opportunities for support in 2 areas. The first being work colleagues, and the people, you know, kind of bosses and that type of thing. That's one area where you might get a bit of moral support. And the other one is the 8th house. So it could be a tax advisor, it could be a lawyer, or somebody who's giving you legal advice. So yes, something to bear in mind, or your bank manager. But there is support to be had from authority figures in those two areas, because the Sun, of course, is usually an authority figure or a boss. So an interesting reading, Capricorn. It looks as though you are kind of changing directions. You're trying to shift the Titanic in a new direction, and this may take a while. So I think just be patient, accept that there may be some loss involved, which can make, one has to kind of grieve these things, even though you may decide it's your decision to sort of let something go in order to bring in something new. That doesn't mean that it's easy. So just be kind and be good to yourself, and pace yourself, that this is not a short-term cycle, it's a 6-month cycle. But I kind of feel as though we're going to get more information when it comes to the full moon. So just sort of bear that in mind. If you don't feel that the answers are that clear, as on the solstice, and the solstice, the solar eclipse itself. So that's it from me. If you're interested, I am doing some personalized horoscopes for this particular event on the membership area of my website. So if you're interested in getting access to that and you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, then you might want to go and sign up now. It's free. The details are in the description box. If this has resonated with you, I'd love it if you would hit the like button. And if you'd like to see readings like this in the future, then do subscribe and you'll be notified when I put up new readings. But I'm wishing you all the best for this upcoming lunar cycle, and I'll catch you in a couple of weeks.